before the rumors, before the headlines. And long before the whispers reached social media, there was a confession that mattered more than anything else. It did not come from gossip pages or anonymous sources. It came directly from Common himself. In a moment of rare honesty, he described what his therapist once helped him understand about his relationships. He explained that he had struggled with something known as love addiction. Not addiction in the dramatic sense people often imagine, but a deep emotional attachment to the feeling of being in love. The rush, the excitement, the honeymoon phase where everything feels new, intense, and full of possibility. He admitted that he was drawn to that stage. The moment when emotions are highest and expectations are still untested. That early period where romance feels effortless and flaws remain hidden beneath charm and chemistry. According to him, once that phase faded, something inside him often shifted. The intensity cooled, and with it, his desire to stay fully present. This admission changed how many people later viewed his relationships, because love addiction does not mean someone cannot care deeply. It means they may struggle to remain when love becomes steady instead of thrilling, when commitment replaces excitement, and when real partnership demands consistency rather than inspiration. At the time, this honesty was seen as growth. Therapy suggested self-awareness. And self-awareness often signals change. Jennifer Hudson, like many others, believed that this time could be different. But as often happens in high-profile relationships, perception and reality began to drift apart quietly. Then came the noise. Suddenly, headlines shifted tone. What had once been described as a grounded, mature relationship was now framed as uncertain. Rumors surfaced suggesting that Common may have already moved on emotionally, at least redirected his attention. According to online chatter, Jennifer was caught off guard. Just days earlier, he had been publicly praising her, smiling in interviews, speaking warmly about their connection. And now, speculation suggested he was growing close to someone new. No confirmations. No names. Just whispers. The timing raised questions. Some wondered whether this shift was connected to a rumored proposal that Jennifer had declined months earlier. Others suggested the narrative was being reshaped to protect egos rather than hearts. Still others believed old rumors about Common's personal life were resurfacing, dragging speculation back into the spotlight. Hollywood thrives on uncertainty. And when silence replaces clarity, imagination fills the gaps. Fans reacted instantly. Social media timelines filled with theories. Every past interview was re-examined. Every quote was reinterpreted. Every smile was scrutinized. And through it all, one question echoed repeatedly. Why can't people just be honest? In the middle of this humor, surface sharp, sarcastic, almost deflective. Jokes about public personas, about image building, about the strange expectations placed on celebrities to perform perfection while hiding complexity. The laughter masked frustration, because behind the jokes was a deeper truth. Public narratives are often cleaner than private realities. As speculation grew, attention returned to Common's dating history. It was extensive, impressive, powerful. He had been linked to some of the most accomplished women in entertainment and culture. Women known for strength, talent, independence, and influence. Athletes, actresses, artists, thinkers, icons. On paper, it looked like a man surrounded by extraordinary partners. Yet one detail stood out. None of those relationships lasted. The pattern was not about access or opportunity. It was about longevity. And longevity requires something different than attraction. It requires endurance. Some describe Common as someone who never truly settles, like a bee moving from flower to flower, drawn to beauty, drawn to energy, drawn to brilliance, but never staying long enough to build roots. That metaphor surfaced again and again in conversations around him. Even Common acknowledged it indirectly. He admitted that when the initial spark fades, he often withdraws. He loves love but struggles with what comes after. Jennifer Hudson was not unaware of this, still. She believed that growth was possible, that therapy had shifted his perspective, that maturity had changed his priorities. At one point, Common even said publicly that he could imagine marriage, and that if it ever happened, it would be with Jennifer. Those words mattered, but words alone are not proof of transformation. As time passed, fans began noticing subtle changes. Fewer public appearances together, less shared energy. Body language that felt distant. Posts from Jennifer that seemed introspective, coded, reflective. Nothing explicit, but enough to raise eyebrows. Then came more rumors. Allegations that Common's attention had drifted again. That he was growing emotionally distant. That frustration had entered the relationship, possibly tied to wounded pride after Jennifer chose not to rush into marriage. From Jennifer's perspective, the decision not to marry was not rejection. It was self-protection. She knew his history. She understood the pattern. And she had learned through painful experience that love without stability can cost more than it gives. She was not interested in becoming another chapter in a familiar cycle. At the same time, darker speculation began, circulating claims about preferences, identity, motivations. Some came from controversial figures. Others were recycled theories from years past. None were confirmed. All were inflammatory. And this is where clarity matters. Speculation is not truth, but speculation often reveals how little the public truly knows about private lives. While some questioned Common, others pointed out that Jennifer's past was not without complexity either. Her previous relationship with David Otunga had ended painfully, involving allegations, legal action, and conflicting narratives. Accusations flew in both directions. Trust was fractured. The emotional aftermath lingered long after the relationship ended. That history shaped Jennifer deeply. She had learned caution. She had learned boundaries. She had learned that peace is not negotiable. So when she described her relationship with Common as a happy place, it was not a performance, it was a standard. And once that standard felt threatened, once uncertainty replaced calm, she did what she had learned to do. She slowed down, not out of fear, not out of bitterness, but out of wisdom. At this stage, no one outside the relationship knows the full truth. Did Common relapse into old habits? Did Jennifer recognize incompatibilities early? Did both contribute to the tension? The answer likely lives somewhere between perception and reality. What is clear is this: the fairy tale had cracks long before the headlines noticed. By the time the rumors reached their loudest point, the relationship between Jennifer Hudson and Common was no longer being discussed as a love story. It was being dissected as a turning point. Not because of what was said publicly, but because of what was not happening anymore. Behind the scenes, according to people close to the situation, the pace of the relationship had changed. Where there was once momentum, there was now caution. Where there was once excitement, there was now evaluation. And at the center of that shift was one moment that carried far more weight than any interview or appearance: the alleged proposal. The idea that Common may have proposed to Jennifer Hudson caught the public off guard, but it did not surprise those who had been paying close attention. From his perspective, the relationship felt significant. He spoke about partnership, spirituality, and alignment. He praised Jennifer not only as an artist, but as a life companion. To him, proposing may have felt like the natural next step, proof of seriousness, proof of growth, proof that he was ready for something lasting. But readiness is not a feeling. It is a pattern. Jennifer did not respond to the idea of marriage the way many expected. There was no excitement, no rush, no public celebration. Instead, there was pause. And that pause spoke volumes. For Jennifer, marriage had never been the ultimate goal. Stability was, safety was, trust was. After everything she had endured in her personal life, she no longer measured commitment by rings or timelines. She measured it by consistency, by what someone did when no one was watching, when things were calm. When life was not glamorous or exciting. Those closest to her say she did not reject Common as a person. She rejected the timing and the uncertainty. She was not willing to walk into marriage carrying unanswered questions or unresolved patterns. She had already lived through a long relationship where promises did not protect her from pain. She was not doing that again. This decision, according to insiders, was not received easily. For someone like Common, who had spent much of his life admired, respected, and emotionally affirmed, being told not yet may have felt like rejection, even if it was not meant that way. Ego can turn hesitation into insult. And when ego enters the room, communication often suffers. Soon after, subtle changes became noticeable. Their public presence together faded. Interviews that once felt warm became guarded. Jennifer's language shifted, more reflective, more inward, less romantic. She spoke about peace, about gratitude, about letting God guide her path. Not about plans, not about futures, not about forever. To Jennifer, slowing things down was not a step backward. It was alignment with who she had become. She had learned the hard way that rushing does not equal commitment, and that intensity does not equal security. She had also learned that people can want marriage for very different reasons, some for partnership, some for validation, some to prove something to themselves or the world. She was no longer willing to guess which one applied. As the distance grew, rumors filled the silence. Whispers suggested that Common had grown frustrated, that he felt unappreciated, that he may have redirected his attention elsewhere, consciously or not. None of this was confirmed, but it fit a familiar narrative one people had seen before with him. The idea that his ego may have been bruised by Jennifer's refusal gained traction online. Some believed this sudden shift in energy was not coincidence but consequence. When someone accustomed to admiration encounters boundaries, the reaction can be withdrawal rather than understanding. Jennifer, however, did not chase clarity publicly. She did not explain herself. She did not defend her decision. She stayed quiet, and that, in itself, was a statement. Those close to her say she was calm, relieved even, not heartbroken, not panicked. She had made peace with the possibility that the relationship might not survive her boundaries. And if that was the case, then it was never truly aligned to begin with. This was not the behavior of a woman afraid of being alone. It was the behavior of a woman unwilling to abandon herself. In Hollywood, relationships often move at an unnatural speed. Careers blur with intimacy. Public image blurs with private truth. Proposals become spectacles. Weddings become branding moments. Jennifer refused to let her life become a performance. She wanted proof of change, not declarations. She wanted emotional follow-through, not poetic language. And when those needs were not fully met, she did what many people struggle to do. She stood still. That stillness unsettled everything around her. It exposed unresolved patterns. It revealed emotional gaps. And it forced a reckoning that could no longer be postponed by chemistry alone. As the weeks passed, the narrative shifted again. Some framed Jennifer as cautious. Others framed Common as misunderstood. But those who understood emotional growth saw something else entirely. They saw a woman choosing clarity over comfort, and a man confronting the limits of self-awareness without sustained change. Whether the relationship ultimately ended quietly or transformed privately remains known only to those involved. But one thing became clear to everyone watching. Jennifer Hudson was no longer willing to trade peace for potential.